Section 5.1, example 3, finding the vertex of a quadratic function. Find the vertex of the quadratic function f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 6x plus 7. Rewrite the quadratic in standard form, so in vertex form. So you could follow the steps in the book to get it in vertex form. That's where we have h, I'll leave the formula here for you. H is equal to negative b over 2a. And k, the k component of our vertex, is just going to be f of h. So you could find it that way and then plug it in and then figure out these other parts. But an easier way, I personally think, is going to be just putting it in vertex form right away by completing the square. So f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 6x plus 7. And completing the square, just so you guys could find other videos on it, this is what we're going to call it, or this is what it's called. So completing the square. Or if you have any questions, you can always ask me. I don't mind doing office hours for you. All right, so step 1 is we need to have a coefficient of 1 in front of our x squared. So what we're going to do is factor out from the first two terms, this 2, to get x by itself. So again, looking at just these two terms, actually, let's just put them in parentheses. Minus 6x plus 7. So again, grouping the first two terms together, let's get 1 as a coefficient there. So factoring out a 2 from those two terms, that leaves us with x squared minus 3x plus 7. And very similar to finding the vertex from a parabola in general form, we have half of b squared. So half of b squared, b divided by 2 squared. And what we're going to do is, instead of putting b, we're going to put that negative 3 in here. So instead of b, we put negative 3. That's what our b is. And we just simplify. So here, 3 is not divisible by 2. So what we're just going to do is square this. So squaring the numerator, 3 squared, or negative 3 squared, is 9. 2 squared is 4. This is what I'm going to refer to as our magic number. Our magic number is going to go inside of these parentheses and also outside of these parentheses. So math is actually a whole lot of doing nothing. So you multiply by 1 to rearrange numbers. You add in 0 so that you don't change the value of things. So here, what we're going to do is add in 0. So we're going to add something in here. So we're going to do a plus in here, and we're going to do a minus out here. That way we add 0. So add 0. All right, so here we're adding our magic number. So we have a plus 9 over 4 in here, and we have a minus 9 over 4 out here. But what we don't know, or what we don't see right away, is that this 9 over 4 is actually being multiplied by this 2 out here. So it's not just 9 over 4 that we're adding, it's actually 9 over 4 times 2. So we have to multiply this one over here by 2 as well. Again, this 2 is here because this 2 is over here. And now let's simplify it a little bit. So equals 2, that's still going to remain on the outside. And now what we just did is we forced this part here. I know it looks a little ugly right now, but we forced this part to be a perfect square. So automatically we could write it like this. Here I see that these simplify a little bit, so that could turn into a 2, and it divides out with the other 2 there. but out here, we're gonna have to rationalize it. It's gonna look a little bit ugly, but it's still gonna get us to our vertex form a little bit quicker. Over here, what we could do is look at this minus sign here in front of our B. So that's gonna be minus. And the square root of 9/4, we could just look at this part here. That's going to be a negative 3/2. And this whole part in here is this part exactly right here. Plus here, let's rationalize these so we could add and subtract across the top. So imagine that there's a 1 underneath here. So 2 and 2, so 7 times 2 over 1 times 2. That's going to be 14/2 minus a 9/2. Now that we have the denominators the same here, we could just add or subtract across the top here. And let's see what we end up with. We're just a few steps away from getting our function in vertex form. 2 times x minus 3 squared, or x minus 3/2 squared plus, because that 14 is positive, 14 minus 9 is 5. And divided by 2. There we go. And lastly, the very first thing that they asked us to do was find the vertex of the quadratic function. We have it in vertex form, so all we have to do is look at it at this point. Let's rewrite it just so that we could see it a little bit better. 3/2 squared plus a 5/2. And from our transformation of functions section, our vertex is just where we shifted left and right, up and down. So here, h and k, h here is going to be 3/2 because we already have the minus. 3/2, comma, k is 5/2. And there we go. The two things that they wanted was our vertex and for us to have our function in vertex form. And there we go. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, bye.